Hello and a warm welcome to Federal's special program, Capital Beat. The big breaking news after a month-long massive student agitation in Delhi seeking his resignation over exam irregularities and NEET paper leaks, Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has resigned. Pradhan sent his resignation to Prime Minister Narendra Modi this afternoon, and he announced a move on his X handle just hours before the third round of the talks between the Cockroach Janta Party and the centre. Now, Pradhan's resignation was the main demand of the protesters camping at Delhi's Jantar Mantar for almost a month. With Pradhan's resignation, the government has fulfilled all the demands. That's what everyone is being told. Resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan, no legal action against the student protesters, and the compensation for the families of students who died by suicide after the NEET paper leaks. Apparently, they had agreed upon the 1 crore compensation to every family that has also been agreed upon. What Pradhan has written in his tweet, I'd just like you to go through some portions, and if you have those graphics ready of Pradhan's letter, I'll just take the viewers through that. He says, I hold deep respect for the aspirations, sentiments, and rightful expectations of the youth of this country. Realizing the dreams of India's young generation has been the moral resolve of our political and social life. I express my gratitude to Honorable Prime Minister for the opportunity given to me to serve the nation under his visionary leadership. It is my resolve that we will not allow the youth power of the country to be trapped in a web of confusion. This is what he writes. And then he further goes on to write, keeping in mind that anti-national forces should not take advantage of the situation that has arisen at Jantar Mantar across the country. We must underline this statement where he says that keeping in mind that anti-national forces should not take advantage of the situation that has arisen at Jantar Mantar across the country, that the unity of the nation remains intact, that the future of even a single student of India does not get entangled in legal complications, and that our children devote their time to studies and focus on building their careers. I have submitted my resignation to Honorable Prime Minister. These are the crux of his resignation letter. But just few minutes back, we are getting some horrifying visuals not from the Jantar Mantar. I'll show you the celebratory visuals a little later. But what has happened, as soon as Dharmendra Pradhan resigns, there are visuals of lathi charge and tear gas as well. Let's play out those visuals of the tear gas which have come in just few minutes ago. This is near the Sansad Marg area and the Tolstoy Marg area where this tear gas has been reported, tear gas shelling, and also some lathi charge has been reported. Now, what exactly is that area? I won't be able to verify it immediately, but these are visuals which are coming in from around the Jantar Mantar area. Tear gas and lathi charge. We do not know the logic now behind this. If Dharmendra Pradhan says that he has resigned to keep the future secure, the future of the students secure, then what is this play out of the tear gas shelling and the lathi charge? This is beyond anybody's comprehension, and it again raises doubt on the intention of the government. And of course, the resignation letter which has been put out on the X handle by Dharmendra Pradhan, it has not been signed, whereas people on the social media are questioning that the letter is not signed. Will it be accepted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi? That's also another question. Look at this. Aapka Dharmendra Pradhan, but there is no signature. I'm assuming that maybe the letter must have been typed and immediately put out on the social media. But will the letter be accepted? And the second question is, why tear gas shelling and why these lathi charge visuals? But as soon as this news of Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation came out, there was a celebratory mood at Jantar Mantar. I just want to show you those visuals of how Abhijit Dipke and the entire crowd at Jantar Mantar reacted. Now, these are the visuals coming to you from Jantar Mantar. Look at this. You can up the audio also.
We have done it!
So Cockroach Janta Party founder Abhijit Dipke says, we have done it. And then later on he says, झुकने झुकाने वाला चाहिए झुक गए. That's what he says. And then we brought the government on the knees. And Abhijit Dipke reminds all the youths of that old bite of Rajnath Singh, which I have kept it ready and I'm going to play that out, where Rajnath Singh in one of the briefings, he said that this is not UPA government, NDA ministers don't resign. I'm going to play out that old bite of Rajnath Singh, which is quite viral at this time.
मैंने इसमें मंत्रियों के त्यागपत्र नहीं होते हैं भैया, वो यूपीए गवर्नमेंट नहीं है, एनडीए गवर्नमेंट है.
राजनाथ सिंह जी, here sir.
और एक मिनट हम ऐड कर दें.
So this is an old bite of Rajnath where he says, "Istife nahi hote." Ye UPA sarkar nahi hai. This is not UPA. This is NDA, where the ministers don't resign. Now, what does Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation go to show? We'll try and discuss the big political picture. What could be the impact? And most importantly, and the most disturbing questions coming out, why after the resignation, these visuals of lathi charge and tear gas shelling? Are the students again going to be targeted? That's a genuine concern which is coming from across the sections. We'll try and discuss all of this. Joining me this evening is Puneet Nicholas Yadav, political editor of The Federal. Thank you so much, Puneet, for joining. TK Rajlakshmi, senior journalist and political commentator. Thank you so much for joining. We have Anchal Gupta, researcher from Yuva Halla Bol. Thank you so much, Anchal, for joining. And we have Pushpraj Deshpande, author and policy expert. Thank you so much. And let me just get a perspective of what the things are. Puneet, I'll come to you first. What does Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation actually mean for BJP and Prime Minister Modi? Last evening, he had done another reel saying, "Hello, friends, we will connect again on Instagram." And that was, of course, not on the selfie mode. That was a normally shot Insta reel, which he had floated. And the entire mainstream media was going gaga over the fact that how popular this Instagram reel of Prime Minister Modi is. And the next day, it seems that the tables have turned.
Yes, Neetu. Well, I don't want to go into the Prime Minister's Instagram reel and all of that, because I think if you go through social media, you'll see that reel, far from being a testament of Modi's popularity, was a statement of ridicule. You know, I don't think anybody bought into or whatever the Prime Minister had said in that reel, or was very enamored and thought that, you know, this showed his sensitivity to the cause and stuff. So let's not, you know, read too much into that. But as far as the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan is concerned, yes, in the immediate aftermath of it, certainly a major victory for everyone who was protesting and everyone who was demanding justice for those countless students who had to, you know, put up with, endure the whole thing of examination paper leaks, not just NEET exam, but a slew of examination papers, 152 over the last decade, and not just, you know, examinations per se, but even recruitment paper leaks. So it's a major win for all of them. A major win for everyone who stood at Jantar, Mantar, or anywhere else in the country and asked for, you know, these demands to be met. It is also a major embarrassment for the government. You know, a government that has been consumed by hubris over the last 12 years to cave down to students, to the youth, and you know, after having dug in its heels over the last 35, 40 days and trying desperately over the last 4 days to somehow, you know, like make some cosmetic measures and hope that this sticks and we'll get away with it without the minister resigning. So definitely egg on the face of the government, a major embarrassment for them. That's the immediate thing. What we also need to now look at is what follows. You know, from here on, where do we get to from this point? Yes, it's a major victory after 12 years of the mob serving injustice, you know, and the government backing that kind of a mob. This is the first instance, in a way, where the masses, where, you know, the mob or the masses, whatever you want to call it, have brought a government to its knees, have served justice much more than what the government has done in the last 12 years. So, yes, that is there. But now what happens next? We have to now look at whether this government, after, being left with a bloody nose in this whole episode, comes back in a way more vindictive form. What it does next, over the next couple of weeks, this whole bogey that's being created of anti-national elements getting into the protest, forces trying to destabilize the government, etc., etc. I mean, this is something, of course, we've heard over and over again. Every time there's a protest, we heard it during the farmer protests, we heard it now. How the government takes this forward, to me, is a major cause of worry. Because this is not a government that takes defeat very lightly. So yes, I'm very happy that the minister has resigned, but I'm also very wary of where this is headed now. What are the next things to come? And then the overall issue of education reforms and examination reforms. Whether this stops at the resignation and the cosmetic thing of this, draft bill being approved by the cabinet yesterday and fast track courts and all that. Those are very cosmetic measures. I don't think it serves any great purpose. This whole thing of fast tracking and increasing compensation, increasing penalties and stuff, because we know how the justice system works. You have just a few days back the instance of one of the NEET paper leak fellows being given a clean chit. So, if your fast track courts are going to basically preside over clean chits, it makes no difference to anybody, except, that the students continue to suffer. So, we have to wait and see. Yes, today may be a moment of celebration, but let's not, rest easy at this, is what I would say.
Right. So that looks like a complete picture. But just a short while before the Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation, Bharani, if you have that bite of Rahul Gandhi, because today, along with the student leaders, he addressed a press conference and he said that Modi is a thing of the past. The past cannot fight the future. This is what Rahul Gandhi had said. He, along with the student leaders, he had addressed a press conference. And immediately after that, we heard that Dharmendra Pradhan had resigned. If you have that bite ready, can we play that, please?
करना है बंद करो, धमकाना है धमकाओ, कुछ करना है करो, हम नहीं हटने वाले हैं, ये नहीं हटने वाले हैं, ये हिंदुस्तान के फ्यूचर हैं, इनको देख लो अच्छी तरह, इससे कोई नहीं लड़ सकता. Narendra Modi is India's past. The past can never fight the future. Thank you.
So Narendra Modi is India's past. Past cannot fight the future. Let me come to Pushpraj Deshpande. Pushpraj, is it the beginning of Prime Minister Modi's era's end? If I may ask you, what Rahul Gandhi said. I'm just taking a cue from that. Yes.
A very good afternoon to you, the panelists and our viewers, Niluji. I agree with Nicholas Puneet on this, that this is a symbolic victory, a victory nonetheless, and it is a victory for all those people who have suffered from police brutality over the last few days. Everyone who supported the Gen Z movement, both offline and online. So it is a victory because for the second time in 12 years that a cabinet minister has resigned. The first time was MJ Akbar, who resigned for obvious reasons. I mean, you know why he resigned. And now Dharmendra Yadav. But this would be the first instance when a popular agitation has forced the government of India to pay heed and be accountable. This has not happened in the last 12 years because the government is running high on its manufactured consensus and stolen mandates. So this is, in a sense, a symbolic victory. It is a very crucial one because now there is blood in the water. Now, every other scam that this government has overseen, whether it's the E20 scam, whether it's the foreign policy failures, whether it is the economic inequalities and insecurity, every minister is technically now up, is going to be as vociferously attacked as Dharmendra Pradhan was. And I think that the ante is only going to up going forward. That's the first point I wanted to make. The second thing is that one also has to agree with what Puneet said, that this also necessitates that we don't let this fizzle out, this momentum fizzle out, and instead start demanding structural reforms from this government. In the last 12 years, they have systematically, because of their ideological proclivities, undermined the educational sector. They have attacked numerous universities, whether it's FTII, JNU, Jamia, Ambedkar, TIS, the IITs, the IIMs. They have destroyed pedagogic freedoms and pedagogic autonomies. They have also destroyed the lives of hundreds and perhaps thousands of students, people like Umar Khalid and Rohit Vemula and so on and so forth. The UGC grants, they cut down from 9,000 crores to 2,500 crores. Consequently, fees have jumped almost 500-600%. So all of these are structural problems for which the BJP government is squarely responsible. Now that you know that for the first time the Modi government is in a corner, they have realized that they have unleashed something that they cannot possibly handle. That is why we should press home the advantage and demand for greater reforms in the education sector. You can't have Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation as a fig leaf for the continued undermining and circumscribing of the educational sector, or indeed, for that matter, other constitutional schemes that have existed before the Modi government came. That's the second point. Now, the third thing, I must congratulate not just the Gen Z crowd, who have been extremely disruptive, creative. They have responded to police brutality and suppression with irreverence, a welcome irreverence, with humor, with wit. And frankly speaking, the spirit and the courage at which they have displayed is finally giving all of us hope that there is some light at the end of the darkness, at the end of this tunnel. So I want to first congratulate the Gen Z, the community, the crowd, India's youth, for actually standing up and showing up when no one else would. And secondly, I think that the left parties played a very crucial role in the organizing of Jantar Mantar, actually giving it the kind of strength it needed. A number of other people, including leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi, who actually escalated this just at the right moment and put pressure on the Prime Minister in a manner in which made him realize that this is not the status quo, that this is now, we have crossed a Rubicon and there is no going back, because something very fundamentally has changed, and that I think is going to continue going forward.
I'm reading a very interesting WhatsApp message which is doing the rounds, and it says that actually the nation should be grateful to CJI. If his arrogant comments didn't happen, this movement would have never happened, and that's divine intervention. Rajlakshmi, I'll come to you now. That's on a lighter note, but what does the big picture look like? Of course, it's a symbolic victory, but what are the challenges now?
I think it's beyond symbolism. I mean, he's after all, union minister. He's not a small fry, So a symbolic victory would mean if you change some lower level ranking officer or some. So
you wouldn't consider this as a symbolic victory. You're saying that this wouldn't be a symbolic victory.
It's not symbolic. I mean, I think it's a substantive victory, I'd say. But yes, I would agree with the concerns expressed by Puneet as well as Pushparaj. I mean, in terms, of the direction and the what lies ahead, in that sense. And of course, the other substantive, demands that are there, Nilu, that we've already discussed several times here about I think I think the NEP has to be, in fact, not reformed, but in fact dismantled. The NTA has to be, has to go. Has to be scrapped. Because in its current form, it's not going to, because I think a little bit of changes here and there. And if you remove some officials, they've sacked, many of those of the staff who were already, temporary. Okay, they were in fact not even on the rolls of the NTA. Okay, So I think these two things have to have to go, because just merely sort of tinkering with their structure as they exist, it's not going to it's again the same things are going to be are going to be repeated. And again, exams have to be decentralized. It can't occur in the form as it's as they are taking place right now in its centralized in fact conduction. So the decentralization of exams has to happen, and it respects the federal structure of and scheme of things as is there in a constitution. Now as far as the in fact the appointments of several people are concerned, which at various posts, for instance, let's say VCs, etc. All that's going to continue. I don't think all that's going to stop. I think the government will continue to appoint people of their choice. But as far as policy measures go, I think the pressure has to sort of continue. In some form or the other. And yes, I think this outcome that we have seen today, it's not it is of course the CJP has had, I think, a huge role in this to play. And as Pushprat said, the left parties and their mass organizations, student organizations, they played a very critical role there, at the site of the protest, in the sense of steering the movement, which could have turned anarchic also. But since they are used to a certain discipline of organizing movements and of planning, etc. So I think all those inputs were very crucial to the CJP's overall movement. And of course the outpouring of the students, the and the youth, and the sheer determination, resoluteness in face of all kinds of adversities, and humiliation. If you actually see the way they were treated, it was actually humiliating, to sort of break the spirit, essentially. When you beat somebody physically, when you tear their clothes, when you attack them sexually, it's the objective is to sort of humiliate, and you sort of make you feel so bad that you do not come back to the site of protest. But they all came because they were even in fact angrier. So I think that this thing had to happen. With Modi ji's late night 12 o'clock night address to the nation, where he shifted from his standard mitron to friends. There was a youngster saying that वो करने से भी कोई फायदा नहीं होगा. Switching from mitro to friends, that is to appeal to the Gen Z, yeah. And the youth cohort, the Gen Z population in a country is in fact the largest in the world. And in fact, combined, with the millennials, they're a huge number, around I think 60 to 70 crore. So it's not a small number at all. So I think,
but in fact, Rajlakshmi, one thing which we also must talk about, that how this protest movement was just not centered in India; it fanned across the world, and there were shots since last 24 hours. We've seen visuals coming in from Los Angeles. We've seen visuals coming in from Sydney, from Oxford. Now look at these protests. Melbourne, across the world, there are protests happening. And remember, like Prime Minister Modi, wherever he has gone, he's addressed the diaspora. And it seems that the children of that very diaspora, they are coming in support of India's Gen Z. What does one go to show? One quick comment from you, and then I'll go to Anchal.
It's a very interesting phenomenon. Really interesting. I thought that the Indian sort of diaspora, in fact, or that the majority of the Indian, the NRIs, etc., they were on the others. They were with the government. Or that they were big fans, of this government. But then the crowds and the kind of anger that they also showed. In spite of the fact that none of their families were affected. I do not think that none of their children were affected in that. Either due to NEET or whatever, or either due to the, I think, crackdown by the police. But they showed solidarity, and in huge numbers, and in what numbers? So it's really amazing. This because I think that the visuals of the 20th crackdown, I think it really impacted a huge number of people who would in fact normally would not even sort of take part in a protest. For them it was, I think, some kind of an awakening, and and I think politicization also of their consciousness, which is I think a good thing.
All right. Siddharth Sharma also joins us. He's also handling a lot of back-end work of Cockroach Janta Party. Siddharth, of course, it's jubilation in the Cockroach Party camp, but the meeting which was supposed to happen in the afternoon with JP Nadda and the government, is that underway right now? Any information on that? What's happening? And of course, what does Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation mean? You'll have to unmute. Yeah.
Yeah, as you said, somebody who is in the back end is not at the front end. Front end is in Delhi, and I'm not sitting in Delhi. So what is happening in exactly Delhi is, because you people are sitting in Delhi, you'll have to give me the picture here. But anyway, how it pans out is very important. Any analysis of politics inherently involves looking at precedents to project future outcomes from present affairs. But sometimes what happens is there is a black swan event. These kind of black swan events happen, like coronavirus. New virus, new solutions needed, no precedents there. So this isn't a resignation of a minister. The whole movement was executed by a generation of Indians, including kids at our home, who were neither thought about movements by their parents, nor was...
I'll interrupt you for 2 seconds. These pictures which you are seeing on the screen of Ashutosh Ranka and Saurav Das with Jiten Singh and JP Nadda, these are the latest pictures which are just coming in. So which means that after the resignation, now this meeting is happening again, the third round of talks between Cockroach Party and the government that was supposed to happen this afternoon. These are the latest pictures which are now coming in. I'm just assuming now what these talks would mean. Siddharth, if you could focus on that.
All of us know there's been enough news about this, that this was not just about Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. The kind of atrocities and the brutalities and the cruelty on the students that were done, wasn't it part of the students, the Gen Z or the cockroaches demand that all those cases against those students who were harassed and put in jails and arrested, they be taken care of? Isn't there a demand still outstanding that all those students who were hurt by NEET and got and had to commit suicide, they have to be given compensation of 1 crore rupees? Isn't that on record? Isn't that also on record that whichever police man has misbehaved with students here, has misbehaved with women here, has misbehaved with girl students here, they have to be taken to task, they have to be booked? Isn't that also a demand? So how come it's not just about Dharmendra Pradhan resignation हो गया तो सब कुछ खत्म हो गया, घर चले जाएंगे, मतलब क्या है इसका? How do you, are you right now trying to? That's why I said we can't simplify this. Problem with the political analysis is that we inherently involve ourselves. We see things through a prism of precedents. We see something has happened in the past, the same thing is going to happen in the future. No, this is a black swan event like coronavirus, new solutions. No, there is no precedent. As I said, and as Rajlakshmi also said before me, this is not just a resignation of a minister. Who executed this whole movement? Do you think it was some Cockroach Janta Party? Cockroach Janta Party is not even a registered body. It's not even a political party. Do you think Cockroach Janta Party did everything? No, this whole movement was executed by a generation of Indians, including kids at our homes, who were neither taught about movements by their parents, nor was there any syllabus at school about this kind of mass movements. Yet, they pulled out an impossible act without training, without experience. Total rookies did that. Now, how did they do it? They used existing technology called their mobile phones and apps like Instagram, and nuclear tipped it with something called as artificial intelligence. Combined, this weapon of artificial intelligence assisted movements is now novel. I think first of its kind anywhere in the world. The sheer creativity, be it of creating Lavanayana Bhojam, what do you say, Lavanayana Bhojam chanting, or leaking sanitary pad posters, or food getting ordered from Andaman Nicobar to America, all these things landing up at Jantar Mantar. Don't you think this is a very creative thing that happened? How can you judge it with some kind of precedent? The point here is that the entire generation of Indians, including mine and your children, when you say Gen Z, that means 75 crore Indians. We are 140 crore people in India. Under 30 is nearly 75 crore Indians. 75 crore Indians have today said that something that you didn't teach me at home, something that was not taught to me in school, I pulled off an impossible act with with something called as my telephone and my artificial intelligence. Now, that generation is going to ask you from tomorrow onwards, if you want to give me a career, if you want to make me a life, what kind of education system are you going to give me? What kind of infrastructure will be there? What kind of teachers would you be giving me? Because the simple fact is that any student, any student knows that for a student to study in a class, the master ji has to be more educated than him. That's a simple fact. Everyone knows. If you're studying in school, at least your teacher has to be more educated than the student. That's the question that Gen Z is asking today, that I pulled off an impossible task without any training.
So you are saying that the questions by the Gen Z will not end here only with a resignation. They will continue to ask. And now if the system is not cleaned up, they will again come back with questions. And now Prime Minister Modi or the Modi government cannot run away from those questions. So far, they have run away from accountability. They have run away from questions. I think now they will not be able to, they won't, they can't afford to do that.
Do you think there's anything called as the Modi government existing today? A government calling itself Chappan Inch ka Sher has today surrendered to cockroaches. Now, Sher who is surrendered to cockroaches, do you think they have any validation or anything left as a government? That's not the question, Neelu, here. They are asking a question from you and me. Even in my house, there are two kids who are Gen Z. They are basically asking me, I did something impossible without any training from you, without going to school and without learning anything. I pulled out an impossible movement. I pulled off an impossible task without any help from you, without any training, without any education. Now, tomorrow onwards, if you are saying to me that I will build your career, what is your plan? Well, how much more do you know than me? What kind of infrastructure are you going to give me? What kind of teachers are you going to give me? What is going to be the syllabus? You change Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan with another such an uneducated minister. Do you think this generation Z will accept it? Your one wicket is down. At least the next batsman has to be better than that. Otherwise, that next batsman, no, he won't even be facing one ball. He'll be retired before facing a ball. Because please understand what this Gen Z has done. Please don't try to.
I get your point, Siddharth, but let me come now to Anchal. That, you know, the systemic rot which Siddharth is pointing out, that rot is deep. It's not easy to clean up the system just in 1 or 2 days, or to satisfy the Cockroach Party that, look, you've got to correct the system and it can be corrected in just a few days. Even if the Education Secretary has been changed, there are lots of question marks on his legitimacy also, and there are allegations of corruption against him as well. Now, this particular meeting which is underway right now of the Cockroach Party with the government, what do you think would be the questions by these people now to the government? What will be their demands? Are they going to float some fresh demands? Yes, Anchal, unmute yourself.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Neeluji, for having me on the show, and good evening to all the panelists. I believe that the questions that need to be asked, which I believe the CJP representatives would be asking the government, is that if, according to the letter of Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, he was so committed to the, what he called apeksha and sapne, the dreams and the expectations of the students, why did he term innocent students as terrorists who were protesting? Second question is, what happened when Sonam Wangchukji was suddenly taken away early morning, draped in white, suddenly by barging and storming the stage? Third question, most important question, how dare the Delhi police and all the paramilitary forces totally, brutally, ruthlessly, mercilessly sexually assaulted, sexually harassed women and assaulted innocent, peaceful protesters, undermining and subverting the most important articles of our constitution, that is the bedrock of our democracy and of our union. Fourth question. He mentions in his letter that he has from day one always been very responsible and has always taken care of. Now, if he's talking about day one in the aftermath of the NEET paper leaks, then the question needs to be asked, what was he doing for the prior 4 years and 9 months of his becoming education minister? Because he became education minister, if I remember correctly, in the first week of July 2021. I think July 7 was the date when he became, and he remained for exactly 5 years and 20 days or something education minister. What the hell was he doing when scores of paper leaks were happening across the country? most important questions that need to be asked about the internal processes of the system. Why were companies and organizations and entities that were already blacklisted in Telangana and other places given contracts by the central government entities? Why is an NTA just a 21-member body with only a select few people who act as outsourcing agents to other companies instead of being highly educated academicians who should be holding a proper organization with autonomy and responsibility? Fifth or sixth very important question. What about probably the most important question? Not once has any member of this government or any senior member of the BJP has ever directly spoken to any of the parents whose children has passed away and no longer remain in this world. What about the pain? Who is going to take responsibility for the pain? One George Floyd was killed in Minnesota in 2020 in the US, and the entire US erupted. That's how democracy works. Within a year, the cops who did this, all the cops were convicted. They are in jail now. Here we are. Here, just today or yesterday, the news came that the 2024 leak, one of the culprits or one of the accused have been let scot-free. I am not at all, and I sincerely apologize to the other panelists who might feel a sense of victory or who might feel a sense of exuberance. Yes, it is a cosmetic victory at best. This government and the underlying organizational and ideological structures that remain behind it are, and I am for the first time using this word on a show, completely authoritarian, autocratic, and fascist in nature. Their very fundamental ideology is to rule by brute force in a hierarchical manner in a society. Fundamental, participative, multi-party democratic system with free and fair and transparent elections and independently working constitutional institutions is anathema to them. It never exists for them. What they are most probably going to do now is utilize this ideology of divide and rule in multiple ways. So you divide them ideologically, you divide them socially, you divide them culturally, you divide them geographically. Now, a lot of the people are going to think, okay, we have achieved the major objective. Let's move on to our different select places wherever we are from and start our normal lives again. The moment everybody disperses, each and every person who has become any known face of this protest is going to be targeted by different agencies. Mohammed Junaid, the person who has been selflessly serving food and water throughout, his relatives have been taken away from Ghaziabad and Meerut. And one of the most draconian police forces in the country, the UP police, what they did in April to the workers, we all know. Hardly not even 5% of the people have collected for their support in anywhere in UP. And they are some of the worst affected lot in this country, the workers in this country, the unorganized workers and even the organized workers. We still hardly anyone talking about it. I know personally, I met people of Karwan, that's a Facebook group who has been working for the release of these people, and they clearly told me, Anchal, be very careful in doing even a single story on them if you want to do for your channel. These people are on you will come on their radar. Any day they can barge your home and they will take you away and put an NSA or UAPA on you as well. I was very categorically told by the other activists who are fighting for the release of their activists, their comrades, told me clearly, be very careful, especially when it comes to Yogi police. I have absolutely no qualms whatsoever that the next round of all kinds of machinations, whatever that word is in English, are going to come into force. They are going to weaponize every tool and tactic in ruthless political science, basically to target each and everyone. This is where all opposition needs to come together. Institutionalized solidarity, resistance, and struggle networks must be in place right now. The way today left student groups stood along with Rahul Gandhi ji, this needs to be institutionalized. The way all lawyer groups, all legal groups came together to help all protesters, this needs to be institutionalized. Any single person targeted for these protests. Yes, this is one of the demands of CJP, that until we are given an assurance. But how are they going to hold the government accountable if this assurance is not met in a few months' time? And one of the activists or one of the protesters, for example, let's say I am targeted. One of you are targeted. Only those people who have great connections in society and who carry a lot of social capital are going to be spared because they have the top lawyers working for them. Any common activist, common YouTuber, common people are going to be targeted. That's the very inherent nature. That's the nature of this government. That's the nature of this regime. So mind you, I'm not very optimistic, to be very honest. I believe an institutionalized solidarity, resistance, and democratic networks need to continue this process from now on, and this government needs to be removed. Ultimately, that should be the target.
Right.
the
All
most
right. So let me now take the concluding comments from everyone. I'll start with Puneet. Brief comment from you, Puneet. What would you say now to the situation evolving, and now these talks? What meaning do they have now? The talks which the government is having with the Cockroach Party leaders.
Yeah, well, Neelu, neither yesterday nor today, I haven't put a lot of value on the talks that have been happening between these two sides. I don't put a lot of value to them even now. Now, the thing is that yes, there is, of course, a certain situation after the resignation started. Fine. As was saying, as Achal was saying, I completely agree with what he said, and I think he's really put all the concerns together in a very well articulated way. That there are a lot of things to be vigilant about moving forward. It is not something that you can today just sit back and say, oh, wonderful, Pradhan is resigned, let's go home, end of story, end of the Mela at Jantar. The time to be vigilant is now. And you have to remain vigilant. You have to remain in that fighting mode. It can't be that, okay, my examination issue is over, Dharmendra Pradhan has resigned, it's over. Let's get back to life as normal. That is not the thing. Before the show started, before our discussion started, Neelu, you had asked me why I was not looking particularly happy. I think in a much better way than I could have. I think Achal has replied on my behalf on why I was not looking very happy. So let's wait and see. I'm not very optimistic about, and I'm scared of how things pan out over the next few weeks and months. So I wouldn't certainly be, over the moon with the Dharmendra Pradhan resignation happening.
All right. Let me come to Pushparaj now. Pushparaj, what should be the way forward after this moment? What will happen to the thousands of student protesters who've collected at Jantar Mantar? Are they going to disperse? How should the political parties now seize this moment? Because somewhere the accountability has to be set in. The parliament session is already on. What should be the way forward now?
I think the government of India has not responded to this crisis because it somehow felt a pang of conscience and decided that I need to now suddenly become accountable to the citizens after 12 years of ignoring their aspirations and needs. I have a feeling that they've been backed into a corner by multiple forces. One is the fact that the movement has managed to broad base its support precisely because of the fact that education continues to remain the silver bullet for socio-economic mobility in a society which is highly unequal because of caste, class, religious, gender variables. Education remains the only silver bullet for this upward mobility, socio-economic. So I think given that and the fact that it spread across cities, the fact that it transcended traditional modes of leadership, political, civil society, is something that worried the Modi government. So they've been backed into a corner. I have a feeling, and I agree with Anchal and Puneet, that the government is going to try very hard to position this resignation as the be all and end all of this, that we have done everything, we have paid heed to you, now there is nothing left for us to resolve, there is no structural reforms we need to make. They're going to try, and I have a feeling, given the fact that a lot of time is being spent, a lot of time and a lot of resources being spent by the Modi government on getting themselves onto Instagram. So I have a feeling that they are now going to try to muddy the water, so as to say, to ensure that the message is crowded and the crowd peters out. That is why I feel that the CJP played its role, Sonam Wangchuk ji played his role, and the left parties played a big role in giving the Jantar Mantar protest a coherence of purpose. So I think that has happened. But now this becomes a political fight, because you have to understand that in every city there are protests of solidarity. There is a momentum that is building up. This momentum will need the organizational muscle and reach of the India bloc, all of them. I'm not saying that this is going to happen only because of one, and this will you will need to keep the students and their demands at the forefront, but a lot of support will be needed from the India parties to reach the 802 districts and 6.5 lakh villages that India has. Because until and unless you're able to build and sustain, that's a very crucial word, sustain this movement for a period of time, you're not going to be able to force course corrections from this government. This government is doing this like it has done in the last 12 years. You remember when he came into government, Prime Minister Modi said, give me 60 months, I'll fix your lives, everything will be hunky-dory. During demonetization, he said, give me 50 days, I'll fix everything, otherwise you can hang me in a public square. Then 2024, 23, he says, give me one more chance and I will fix everything. Last year, not even last year, earlier this year, he said, give me 10 more years and I will fix everything. So, this government is going to keep pushing the, kicking the can down the road. And now that they've given us a cathartic victory, that, we've got a resignation. I'm not denying what Rajalakshmi ji is saying, that, this is a huge step for the government to actually sack one of its senior ministers. It is unprecedented. But all I'm saying is that this is a tactic being deliberately deployed by the BJP government to remove the sting from this movement's potency. So I would say both to the students and the India bloc, you need to press home the advantage. There is blood in the water. Expand the scope of this protest, not just geographically, but also in terms, also normatively. Keep demanding not just compensation for the people, the families whose children have passed away by suicide because of these paper leaks, but also demand accountability for the against the Home Minister and the Commissioner of Police and every police official who's attacked the students and so on and so forth. But you also need to think about other issues, the structural reform that are needed in the education system. These are things that you need to talk about.
Right.
And one last thing. I think that we must, this is a glib comment, but I must think that this is the first time that a sitting Chief Justice has contributed so much to political culture and public life without actually contributing a single word of a judgment. We must thank him, and hats off for him for actually debunking 12 years of this fog that had been imposed on India.
Right. All right. Rajalakshmi, to you, and then I'll come to Siddharth. Yes.
Yeah, so I said, I think that neither should we have, huge sort of expectations from the outcomes of of this movement. Yes, the other demands are there, in terms of asking for compensation, in fact getting the FIRs quashed, okay, and also to see, if there's going to be further, vendetta by the government, because I do not think that it ends here. There is going to be, I think, vendetta, on part of the government, because they've already taken lots of footage of all the protesters, and they can identify them, and if they want to go after them, they can easily do, because they have, the wherewithal and the machinery. Yes, I think a more coordinated effort, is required, and I think that the opposition parties have, I think, got a sense of the importance of the youth and the Gen Z of this country, and I do not think that they are also going to take up these issues, just lightly. I think education is about politics. It's about how you view education. It is, a political question, and I think thanks to this movement, they made it a political question. And now I think, of course, it's a fact that the political parties can't ignore it, because education is a huge thing in this country. It's a root of social, economic, this mobility, because everybody sees, education as a way of stepping up, either socially and economically. So you can't ignore it anymore. Yeah.
Okay, Siddharth, now what do you have to say? What is Cockroach Party's next goal going to be? Now that their demands have been met, they wanted Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. Are they going to be fighting for a bigger cause? What is the future now?
Well, there are some things that happen naturally, Neelu. There are something called a natural progression. This is now beyond individuals and beyond platforms or beyond organizations. All of their great contributions notwithstanding. Essentially, what has happened is that 75 crore new generation Indians have flown the coop within 1 week. They decentralized, they scattered, and they know how to weaponize technology to come together within no time and then win also. They have everything now. They have shifted the paradigm of democratic fundamentals. Till 1 week ago, we thought, each one of us, even those sitting in this panel, thought that governments are all powerful. These kids showed that people are not all that weak. Democracy is not just about a vote. No, democracy is not just about election. Democracy is not just about majority. Democracy is not just about forming a government. Gen Z has shown that a brutal, cruel government can be brought to its knees and made to surrender to logic. And that is democracy. Now, what is going to happen is that this weapon is now become open source. Now it's become an open source weapon. And the natural progression with an open source coding is that politically it will become twofold, like a scissors, two knives. The upper sharp edge will be aggressive opposition that you will see from tomorrow onwards. From today onwards, opposition will be super aggressive. And the second lower knife of that scissor is going to be implosion within the NDA and the BJP also, because that is also a natural progression. This is what going to happen politically.
We'll come to Anchal now. Anchal, your concluding thoughts, and then I'll end the program. Yeah.
I believe I agree on the concluding points, many of the concluding points that the other panelists have raised, which is that as long as all the opposition, all the civil society groups and all the other youth groups that have spontaneously grown over the last few months need to constantly be in touch. I'm talking about very practical things without using any frameworks or conceptual definitions or things like that. Be in regular touch, have teams of lawyers, activists, journalists, writers, everybody ready. Anyone and anywhere who is targeted, be ready to help them out. Once this government starts seeing, hey, in that city, that face was seen in this protest, that person went back to its city, we tried to target them, immediately a team of lawyers was ready to help them. This person went to this city, 6 months later, we tried to target them, immediately a team of lawyers and everybody associated with this movement during these days, suddenly everybody started tweeting, everybody started giving statements, all kinds of solidarity statements started coming. So an institutionalized process of larger solidarity network of the people, everybody who loves democracy, all the India bloc parties, all the CJP people associated with them, all the civil society groups, everybody needs to constantly be in regular, actual touch, actual communication and have an institutionalized process so that, because I'm telling you, the arsenal of this government is no less. They will come up with they will create newer weapons, they'll come up with newer ways. Because this is an existential battle now. It is actually metamorphosing into an existential battle for this government. They know that this is the first time that fear that we could be removed by democracy, by India's constitution, basically. We can see that fear in their eyes. And they are going to leave no stone unturned to let the status quo remain.
All right.
And institutionalized resistance is the way forward. That's the final thing I would like to say.
Pushpa, you were saying something?
No, again, just a glib comment. You're going to get many more My Friend videos now going forward.
Okay. All right. So let's, I think it's going to be interesting now when the parliament opens on Monday, what's going to happen. Let's wait and watch. Thank you so much for joining. It's been a big day. But yes, it has ended up in Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. What is going to happen now to BJP? How will they change their this moment into a positive narrative for themselves? That's also something to watch out for. Thank you so much, Rajalakshmi, Siddharth, Pushpraj, Anchal. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.